Good day, Scholars, I hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to look at what the Android Saga would turn out like if Cell was never created by Akira Toriyama. If the androids were the main villains as originally intended by him. Hit the like button if you're a fan of old school Dragon Ball videos like this, and subscribe with notifications switched on so you don't miss the next one. It's infamously known that Akira Toriyama's editor once complained about androids 19 and 20, even 17 and 18 being the Android Arc's final bosses. We don't really know much about what the full original plans were, but we know Cell wasn't originally in the equation. At the time Toriyama was coming up with the Android Saga, his former editor at the time, Kazuhiko Torishima, criticized 19 and 20, referring to them as Gizo and Fatso, which resulted in Toriyama coming up with 17 and 18, but Torishima further contacted Toriyama and called them brats, which sparked Toriyama to create Imperfect Cell. Now Toriyama's then editor, Yu Kondo, came in and criticized Cell's first form, calling it ugly, as well as saying something similar about second form Cell. Anyway, it ignited Toriyama's perfect power to create Perfect Cell. Of course, shooting from the hip had been Toriyama's writing method, and everything worked out very well in the end with an arc that flowed perfect, pun intended. But let's imagine a world where Toriyama's editor didn't get in his ear at that time, and instead the arc focused on androids 19 and 20. Obviously, underwhelming is probably the word that comes to mind for most of us thinking about an Android Saga without Cell. First, let me just say this right off the bat. In verse, the arc wouldn't be all about Gohan like in the Cell games, unless Toriyama specifically wanted to make it about Gohan and androids 19 and 20, which is kind of a weird final battle when you think about it. So let's explore the inverse story a little bit more and try to make it as exciting as can possibly be. First, without 17 and 18 involved. So in the original story, if Dr. Gero had no other androids in secret, then his attack on the island at the start of the saga would be done with all his faith being placed on himself and android 19. Now, we all know how 19 met his doom thanks to Vegeta, where everyone eventually cornered Dr. Gero, and without 17 and 18 being there in that situation, Gero would just die, most probably by the hands of Trunks, Vegeta, or Piccolo. And that's it for the Android arc, right? Well, not exactly, because if 17 and 18 weren't created by Toriyama, then future Trunks would have a completely different future. To be more precise, the story would have to be written where 19 and 20 were as strong as 17 and 18 in order to wipe out the future Z fighters, or the future Z warriors somehow survived the android invasion because 19 and 20 were a much easier battle than infinite energy androids. Obviously without Goku, who had already died of a heart virus. Therefore, Trunks would never find the need to save another future if his was already saved, making the main timeline turn out exactly like the future timeline with no interference. And that's Goku defeating Frieza and King Cold, followed by everyone surviving 19 and 20's attacks similar to the future. Now you may be thinking, if 19 and 20 suddenly attacked in the main timeline, when no one prepared for them, could Vegeta, Piccolo, and the other Z fighters handle them? Now it's important to note, nobody besides Vegeta would be as strong, as his training intensity was always consistent, but the others like Piccolo and Krillin had no urgency to train. Even if Piccolo did train somewhat, it wouldn't be as intense, and he wouldn't be training with a Super Saiyan for 3 years. We know in the history of Trunks and anime series that Vegeta unlocks Super Saiyan, so unless 19 and 20 double teamed Vegeta, I see Vegeta pulling off a similar dominant victory over 19 and then proceeding to play a major bluff about his energy if it was drained by 19, causing Gero to run whilst everyone tracks him down. A similar situation to the main story anyway. However, I think it's a dangerous situation because Vegeta would have no intel about the energy absorption techniques, so there's a chance if the two androids did double team him, they could sneakily absorb his energy, at least grab hold of him and take him by surprise. But I think Vegeta would be more inclined to decimate them as quickly as possible if they were rushing him. It would only take one blast to realize those guys can absorb, and it would be very tough for them to grab him unless he gave them a massive chance. Either way, the others should be able to assist Vegeta in the battle if need be, as in the manga, everyone were there on the battlefield at the same time, implying it was a big battle, so it seems as though they traveled to the destination which was being attacked. This really depends on how sneaky 19 and 20 are, and if they can take up the Z fighters one by one. But Vegeta would be the biggest threat for them. Senzu Beans would still be around at that point, so Vegeta won't be weakened for long after defeating 19, and if Gero tried to absorb Piccolo's energy, Gohan would be able to link with Piccolo's mind and save him, similar to the original timeline. Basically, both timelines have a much better chance of surviving 19 and 20 if they were the main villains, but they still have some sneaky advantages different to how 17 and 18 operate by being destructive. You see, without Trunks going back in time, nothing changes to the timeline. Of course, Cell is non-existent in this what-if scenario in both timelines, so his arrival doesn't change anything either. The only reason Trunks would change a timeline is if 17 and 18 were created, which results in a similar outcome for the future timeline. If Toriyama wanted 17, 18, 19, and 20 as the main threats, and that story got greenlit, I see all androids in both timelines, but somehow I think 19 would die alongside Gero at the hands of the superior 17 and 18, rebelling against their master. Therefore, if 17 and 18 were thrown into the mix but no Cell, Trunks travels back to change the past, and the events of the main timeline would unfold the same until Piccolo traveled to the Lookout to fuse with Kami, after the Z-Warriors were defeated in the mountains by 17 and 18. Instead of changing way too much, and because we don't know the original plans for the androids, I'm keeping it the same in that the androids from the main timeline act differently and are stronger than the future ones because of Trunks affecting the timeline in the first place by coming back to kill Frieza. Because let's be honest, if 17 and 18 were the same temperament as the future 17 and 18, everyone would be dead during this mountain battle, and we will end it right there. So 17 and 18 aim to search for Goku. They grab a van and off they go. But Kami would not fuse with Piccolo as there is no Cell. Also, Kami's decision was affected by 17 and 18 not doing anything evil yet. Of course, when it comes to Android 16, I'm not including him in this joyride with 17 and 18 because we're going with the notion that Toriyama just created 17, 18, 19, and 20 for this arc. So it's unknown how long it takes 17 and 18 to actually find Goku without 16 there because he gave them all the information and they didn't have a Scooby-Doo. They also cannot sense energy. In the meantime, Goku would heal from the heart virus, then the 4 Saiyans would aim to train in the hyperbolic time chamber because they accept 17 and 18 as still superior and need to be defeated. But I feel within a few days of 17 and 18 driving, they would get fed up and start flying to search. It's unknown if they will get frustrated and become ruthless over time, or they will just mellow out and enjoy life's customs. Either way, the moment they become hostile, Kami would fuse with Piccolo, and by that time the Saiyans would complete their training and would make short work of the androids. If they find them, it's unknown when and how their paths would cross, especially if they're laying low, but at some point they would, just for the sake of the story, and it depends who finds them first. That would decide the fate of 17 and 18. If Vegeta and Trunks find them, bye-bye. If Goku is there, there's a chance they would survive, as 17 wouldn't be bloodthirsty for fighting, he just wants fun, and if he's outmatched, his nature will accept defeat. And hey, he and Goku may even make friends. Either way, I think this would totally lead to a Goku vs Vegeta rematch, once the android threat is over. So there's multiple ways in which an android saga could finish without Cell. Some things we definitely won't see, and that's Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, or the Cell games for that matter. Oh yeah, we wouldn't have gotten the role model Tien using the role model beam on semi-perfect Cell, but I have faith Toriyama would have given Tien his moment somehow. In conclusion, Toriyama getting criticised at this time turned into a good thing, but it's unknown just how good his exploring writing style would have made the Android saga without Cell involved. A big shout out to my Patreon member, The Unknown Scholar, for today's video idea. Thank you to all Patreon and YouTube channel members for financially helping my channel and content in difficult times. So a special shout out to my strongest Saiyan Scholar Patreon members, The Unknown Scholar, Saiyan King Mike, Mary Time Steak 85, Divinity. I'm incredibly grateful for your support, legends. Thank you for watching this video today, guys. Hit the like button and subscribe if you love old school Dragon Ball videos like this one, and until we meet again, Scholar, keep being a role model.